Welcome to Millens TV. Well, Ross, this is pretty exciting. Ross, I heard that you've been using the F word around the office recently.
Yes, that's true, Keith. I've been dropping the F word quite a lot. Fraud.
Fraud?
Yes. What do you think I was talking about?
I wouldn't know, but you're telling me there's plenty of fraud in our office?
Not in our office, but we're handling a number of matters at the moment that have come to us because of fraud. And I think it's probably something that's symptomatic, of the economy. That's a little bit of a wind down. People are more tempted perhaps to take their employers' money or to take other people's money, and so we've got a couple of things at the moment. You want me to tell you about them?
I look forward to hearing about it.
Well, of course, obviously protecting client confidentiality, but we've seen one recently, quite a major fraud, where the financial controller of one of our clients, a very trusted employee, been there for 10 years or so, in fact was made a director of the company, was transferring very large amounts of money over several years to his own private bank account to fund a gambling habit. So this only was discovered by an audit of the accounts. Questions were asked, he was unable to explain them all, and eventually it was brought to the attention of the remainder of the partners, the directors of the company, and as a result the further investigation showed what unfortunately ballooned from about $100,000 pretty quickly became $1 million, and now it's a couple of $1 million. So
How many years?
7 years. 7 years of fraudulent transactions come to light. Another one we're aware of is a very trusted employee in the accounts department, 20 to 25 years of service. Our client changed banks. This employee was trusted with all the banking arrangements. So what they did was, when they changed banks, they actually kept an account open at the old bank, and then they were issuing various small invoices to clients and directing those clients to pay the invoices into the old bank account. And as a result, then that employee was going into the old bank account and taking out the money. It was only when I think one of the clients came into the office and said, "I've got this invoice, maybe I'll pay it here," and someone else in the accounts department said, "Oh, why is it saying this old account? We moved from that bank a year ago." Suddenly there was an investigation and this was all discovered. So there's another example of a long-time trusted employee suddenly being found to have defrauded the employer.
It's not just our clients and employees, is it?
No, another matter at the moment, which is really an investment scam. Financial advisor had advised one of our clients about the opportunity to earn a great rate of return. These people had given $400,000 to the investment advisor, and the money was invested in various mortgages and other great securities. The only problem was the mortgage was a complete sham, a forgery. Other investments, were to companies that never even heard of the investment advisor.
So the investment advisor took the money for their own use?
Well, we're still trying to get to the bottom of that, but that's exactly what it appears like. There certainly isn't $400,000 of gilt-edged security to back up the $400,000 that our clients invested.
It's caused great distress to our client.
Well, no one can really afford to drop $400,000, particularly in this case. These clients are retired people and relying on this return to fund their retirement. So it was probably unwise of them to make such a significant investment without seeking our advice first to make sure everything was above board and properly documented.
So, well, Ross, we've got many clients. What are our good ones doing, and how are we advising them to avoid issues like this?
Well, clearly the best thing to do is, to have an environment that discourages fraud in the first place. And secondly, if fraud does occur, to find it early on rather than several years down the track when it's really ballooned out to a big amount. Obviously there are some, this is more in the area, I suppose, of sensible business advice. But whenever employing anyone who's going to be in a trusted role, a trusted position, handling cash or involved in your accounts department, I think it's a good idea nowadays, Keith, to ask for a police check. Perhaps that wasn't commonly done in the past, but if you say this is our standard procedure, that everyone who's responsible for or has a role in handling funds within the organisation needs to have a police check, you'll very quickly find that whether people have some sort of criminal record. And in fact, in one of the cases we're talking about, the individual did have a prior conviction for fraud many years ago, and that would have been discovered if a police check had been carried out.
Another one, Ross, on that area is to get a permission to get into their social networks and onto their Facebook, and you can have a look to see what they're saying amongst some of their friends and who some of their friends are. And a lot of our good employers are now seeking that permission to access the social media of their employees.
That takes you into the area of when employees leave and who owns their social media contacts, LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff, and we've had some interesting issues with that recently. But coming back to fraud, of course, cross-checking, making sure that there's not just one person in charge of writing checks, that things have to be checked and signed off and approved, having appropriate audit trails, random audits, things like that to check. Another interesting point in another one of the cases we're looking at, the fraudulent employee it was a situation where the company had required 2 approvals on the internet, but the fraudulent employee was using the internet access code of an ex-employee. So, and because this fraudulent employee was in charge of handing out the internet access codes and managing that, they were able to maintain an ex-employee's code and use that. So as far as the bank was concerned, there were 2 authorities, just one was coming from someone who no longer worked there. So a good point is to be constantly in touch with the bank, checking bank account signatories, internet access, whether there are limits, up to 5, 10,000, etc., so people can't transfer large amounts of money against what the bank's been advised. So, I think some sensible, business strategies there are required, and we can put our clients in touch with specialist consultants who will do a fraud analysis of your business and give you a report and suggest steps that you can take to, not quite fraud-proof, but certainly discourage fraud within your organisation.
Well, Ross, is often the way people come to see us to recover some of this money, and there are ways that the legal system and our firm can help get some of this money back.
Well, hopefully, our clients are going to make a full recovery in these various cases. The first person to look at, of course, is the fraudulent person. We've recently taken out, these are very fancy words, but certain orders, Anton Pillar orders, that's like a search warrant that you get from the court, and the court gives that subject to very stringent conditions. You've got to go with an independent lawyer, you've got to go almost as a court officer and then come back to the court very promptly and say what you've been able to find. Also, you can get a thing called a Mariva injunction, which freezes the assets of the relevant fraudulent person. So we can assist clients in doing that. Then you can try and recover if the fraudulent person has assets that they've built up through using the defrauded funds.
They might have moved the money to an associated spouse, family member, friend.
Well, in that case, you can also trace through into those assets where the fraudulent person has given money, say, to their spouse, the spouse has bought assets, then you'll be able to trace into those assets and get a court order requiring those assets to be handed over or sold and the proceeds handed back.
But I assume the spouse, of course, will fight that.
Yes, well, not many people give up their assets without a fight, but provided there's evidence that you can show that you're tracing the money from the fraudulent person into the person who's used it to acquire those assets, then the courts will grant you the orders to get those assets back.
In relation to that elderly couple on or come into retirement, go to the financial planner or the financial advisor, they'd have professional indemnity insurance, and surely you make a claim on that policy.
Well, we're making inquiries about that at the moment. Unfortunately, some professional indemnity insurance policies do not cover fraud because, of course, they're there for someone who does something negligent in their professional advice rather than someone who does something fraudulent. So it's necessary to check out what the actual cover is. Some of our clients do have fraud cover. Can in some cases be expensive, but depending upon your circumstances it may not be a bad idea. So there can be recovery against your own insurance, recovery possibly against the advisors, the fraudulent advisors insurance, but you know, as I said, most professional indemnity insurance doesn't cover fraud. The other people, possibly if the bank has allowed transactions to occur that were not authorised, or has relied on forged or fraudulent authorities that it should have investigated further. Also, there may be, if your company is subject to audit on a regular basis and the auditors have, I mean, it's not a 100% guarantee, but if they haven't conducted the audit properly and they could said to be negligent, then you may have suffered the loss as a result of their negligent audit. And the other thing is, if an employee comes to you from an employment agency and this person is found to have a previous criminal record, then you could argue that the employment agency is being negligent in sending you someone who had a former criminal record and they didn't carry out proper checks for you. So there could be a whole range of other people in addition to the fraudulent person who may be responsible to our clients, and naturally we analyse the whole situation, decide what possible causes of action there are for our client, and pursue them either through negotiation or the courts to get the maximum recovery.
So Ross, if any client is subject to what we call the F word, maybe they should contact us and we'll be able to assist them greatly.
Yeah, we hopefully we don't get too many of these, but as we've observed, there do seem to be a growing number, and I think it would be a very wise business decision for people to conduct an audit of their organisation, to identify the areas for potential fraud, and if unfortunately fraud does happen, to contact us urgently so that we can become involved and enhance the opportunity for full recovery as soon as possible.
Everyone knows Keith and Ross from Millens TV.
So between us we have, Keith, might be close to 70 years of experience as lawyers, plus with our other team we've got well over 100 years of experience. And you can access that experience every day by telephoning us or emailing us, but we thought it would be a really good idea to start sharing some of our learnings and knowledge and what we've found over the years with you via this Millens TV portal or connection or whatever you want to call it. So it's going to be a series of very informal, but I hope informative discussions between Keith and I, probably on a monthly basis or maybe more regularly as things come up that we think are of interest to you in the business community. So that's the idea of Millens TV, and we hope you like it just as much as we like recording it and sending it to you.